So now we're going to go to Tanya. We're still in chapter 37, which is a long chapter. We are on page Memches on top and 174 at the bottom. We're going to start 2, 4, 8 lines to the bottom of the page. Okay? The Alter Rebbe is explaining that the nefesh, when it does a mitzvah, elevates not only themselves, elevates the body, elevates the animal soul, elevates the world around them, the inanimate plant, animal, and human, everything is elevated because the world was created for the purpose of a Jew making the dwelling place for Hashem. And therefore, that's what a Jew does. And then he starts saying that there's 600,000 general neshamas. And then where we're up to now, that each one of those general neshamas breaks off to 600,000 neshamas. So if you want to know how many neshamas there are, like we said last week, we finished it off, 600,000 times 600,000, that's, I think, 360 billion, if I'm not mistaken. That's how many neshamas are coming into the world. So he says like this, it's not only, it says like this, Shekol Nitzut, every spark of this 600,000 times 600,000 is neshama achas, is one neshama. L'chein nefesh v'ruach b'chol elah. The same thing, not only we learned the neshama is 5 levels. Nefesh, ruach, neshama. So he says just like the 600,000 times 600,000 neshama, there's ruach, there's nefesh. And not only that, in all worlds, Atzilas, Bria, Yitzir, Nasir. Okay, now the Alter Rebbe says like this. The whole needs, why did the spark, this neshama, which is a part of Hashem, why does the neshama come into this world? He says like this. The whole needs, every spark, meaning every neshama, Le Yarad La'ilam Hazeh, does not come into this world. Av Sheyirida Gedela, even though it's a tremendously great descent, like we said before, that we learned last time, from a lofty tower to a very deep pit. Well, why does it come down? And not only that, Ubachin is Golus Mamish. Not only that, the neshama, not only is it coming down very far, it's an exile. What does exile mean? Exile means when you are not in control of yourself. If you go into your house and lock the door, you're not in prison. Because you locked it, you can open it. If somebody else locks you in the room, meaning somebody else is controlling you, then you're in exile. Alter Rebbe is saying over here that the neshama comes down. Alter Rebbe is explaining why does the neshama come down, which is a part of Hashem. Literally a part of the essence of Hashem. Why does it come into this world? Not only is it coming into the world, it's controlled by the body and the animals. So not only is it coming down into the world, it's exiled in this world. And he says, Kigam sheyir tzaddik gomor, because even if somebody is a complete tzaddik that killed the Yetzer Hara, transformed the Yetzer Hara, Eved Hashem b'yira v'ava b'tanuga, who serves Hashem with the ultimate level of fear and love, lo yagia l'maylas ve'kuseh b'Hashem, will still not reach the level of connection with Hashem, v'tchilu rechimu, with fear and love, v'terem yuridase le'elam hazeh chumri. He still doesn't come close to the devotion and dedication of a neshama out of the body. The Zohar says, even the greatest neshama like Avraham Avinu, the fact that it's in the body is a limitation for that great neshama. Therefore, later on, in the famous Igeres HaKodesh called Siman Zach, Chav Zayin, the Alter Rebbe brings down the Zohar, but we happen to say, if you say Mein Loshen at the oil, and you say the Zohar part, it says over there that it's tzaddik, ishtakach yatir mebachayai. A tzaddik is found, tzaddik, ishtakach bahai alma, after they die, is found more in this world Yatin mi b'chayoy, more when they're even alive. Because when you are alive, you are restricted. You have to eat. Even a tzaddik, they have to eat, they have to sleep, they have to take care of the physical needs. That limits the neshama in any way you want to look at it. It could be Moshe Rabbeinu, it could be the holy tzaddik. But there's still a limitation because of the neshama. So he says, is not even close to the level of the connection to Hashem. And there's no connection whatsoever with the love of the neshama up there before it comes into the body. To the level of love and neshama in a body. As everybody knows, L'kol Moscow, next page. The body cannot endure that infinite level of godliness. So the body restricts. So now the Alter Rebbe says like this. Why in the world is the neshama coming down into this world to be exiled, to be tortured by being in a body and an animal soul, by being in a corrupt world, and we don't need any more proofs than today's world? He says like this. The descent for the neshama to come in this world, to come into a body and an animal soul, is kedei bilvad, to fix them, to mend them, ulafridam, and to separate them, from the evil of the complete evil. How? By keeping the 365 negative commandments. Like we learned last time, it's like the veins. You make sure the life of the heart, the blood of the heart doesn't go to the wrong places. That's the purpose of the veins. The 365 negative commandments is that we make sure that evil doesn't get nurtured from godliness. And to elevate the godly soul. Together with the part of the world, like I'm going to explain this whole thing in a second. From this whole world. Okay? He says like this. The purpose of the neshama, he's going to say soon, the neshama is perfect. It's a part of God. The neshama does not come down into the world to rectify itself. The purpose of the neshama coming into a body is to elevate the animal soul, the body, the world around him, which, like we learned, where Hashem places the person to live or to do business or whatever it may be, that they should elevate that world, to remove it from the level of evil, to elevate it to Kedusha, to elevate it to holiness. That is the purpose of the soul. Now, through this, other places and all over Chassidus, it says, the neshama goes greater than it was before. But the neshama doesn't come down to fix itself. It is perfect. It is a part of Hashem. The purpose of the neshama is to come down and fix, make the body holier, the animal soul holier, the part of the world that we're in, to make it holier. How? Like you said before, you do a mitzvah, a positive mitzvah, you elevate all the sparks of Kedusha from the physical world, you're elevating it to holiness. By keeping the 365 negative commandments, what you're accomplishing is you're not feeding evil. You're not nourishing evil. Evil is not going to be fed. You're making sure that the veins don't bring the blood to the wrong place. That is the purpose of the neshama coming into the world. In other words, we learned before, Hashem created the world because he wanted a dwelling place in the low world. Hashem therefore created a low world. Corruption, evil, the worst. Total evil. And into this world, Hashem says, I want a home. What does a home mean, like we learned before? The way you really are is the way you act at home. In the street, you act, you dress accordingly, talk accordingly, act accordingly. The real person is not the one in the street. The real person is the one in the house. When Hashem says, I want a dwelling place down here in the lowest of the lowest world, that is why, like I was saying here, the neshama comes into the world. Why was every person born? Because they have a mission. What is that mission? That mission is to make the world holy, to make the world God's home. How do we make the world God's home? Like I've explained before, the last few weeks. You take a physical object, which is not holy. You take a piece of wool. You take a piece of parchment. You take an apple. Okay, these are not holy objects by nature. You take it, you make a bracha on it. You write tefillin. You make tzitzis. You write a book. You do things, holy things. You make money. The Dr. Rebbe is going to explain about tzedakah. You elevate all the things that the money could buy. The purpose is for a Jew to create a dir v'tachtonim. And that's what our mission is. The mission is to make the world a dwelling place for Hashem. Now, when will that become revealed? When will that level, the openness of the Hashem's dwelling, when will it become into fruition in the world? That's the coming of Mashiach. But therefore, the Alter Rebbe began this chapter by saying, the coming of Mashiach is dependent on what we do to elevate the world. Because again, what happens when Mashiach comes? Evil doesn't exist. The world is godly. But who's making that happen? Of course, Hashem could do it himself. Hashem could do whatever he wants. Hashem could make this world and make a dwelling place. But Hashem says, that's not what my excitement is. That's not what I want. What do I want? That people, that the neshama of a Jew comes down into a body, into a Yetzer Hara, into a world, and there he functions by making the world holy. Okay? That's what Hashem wants. Why does Hashem like that? We were talking by Chassidus in this morning in Shul. We're learning a Maimed that talks about this. And Alter Rebbe explains a very simple concept. Thanksgiving, everybody's going away, they're traveling, going on, or people go on vacation. The question is, if you think about it, in fact, it's interesting, I was walking to Shul today, so one of the neighbors on the way to Shul, I asked him, are you in town? He says, yeah, you told me already that my house is more comfortable, the bed is more comfortable, the food is more comfortable, why do I need to go away for it? So people go away on vacation. I promise you, your home is more convenient. Probably food that you get in your house is probably better. You don't have to live out of suitcases. You come back after vacation. You're so tired, you need another vacation from the vacation. Why do people go on vacation? So there's one answer. It's a very simple, logical answer. A change of scenery. To change a little bit. The purpose of a vacation is to have new scenery. Is it more convenient? No, it's not more convenient. Why does Hashem love? Because for Hashem to do it is big deal. For tzaddikim to do it, big deal. What does Hashem want? Us low people, physical, human people, that we transform the world to make the world Hashem's home, again, by doing the physical mitzvahs that elevate the physical world, by keeping the 365 negative commands that we're not feeding evil. Hashem gets excited about that because that's something new. And over there, the Alter Rebbe in Chassidus brings us down. The mashal for that, they didn't talk about vacations in those days. What did they? There was something called Sipar Amadabedes, a parrot, a parakeet. Why do people get excited about a parakeet? I promise you, humans talk better than parakeets, better than parrots. When people talk, you say be quiet because the parrot is talking. The person talks better than the parrot. What's the uniqueness of a parrot? It's unique that a bird talks. That human talks, what's the big deal? What's the uniqueness? People pay money, excitement. That a bird talks, that's something new. Hashem wants new things. Why did Hashem create this world? He could have not created the world and not have anything, and we wouldn't be here. What does Hashem need us for? You think God is incomplete without us? God, by definition, is complete. God doesn't need us. Why does he need us? Because Hashem said, I want to have some excitement, so to speak. What is my excitement? When Tachtainim, a low world, a low animal soul, a low body, makes me a home, they do Torah mitzvahs. Hashem said, come on, that's exciting. I love that. That's what I want. And that's what our function is. To create this new thing. And he says, that's why the neshama comes down from a lofty place into a very low place, not for itself, but to make the world a better place. Or, like he said, Ulekashram on the 6th line, to connect them, uliyachtam, and to unite them, in the revelation of godliness. How do you unite the world with Hashem? You bring down godliness into the world by keeping all 248 positive mitzvahs. That means you're doing all the mitzvahs, bringing more kedusha into the world. In his animal soul, because that's what you're doing it with your animal soul. Like the Rebbe said, I said before, that the animal soul is the one that's actually doing the mitzvah. Your physical body, the animal soul is what gives life to our body. So if the hand moves, it's coming from the animal soul. So if the hand does a mitzvah, the animal soul is sustaining doing the mitzvah. So the animal soul becomes greater. The hand becomes greater. The world becomes greater. Because like it says in the Arizal, the neshama itself is perfect. The neshama does not come into the world to become better. What is the purpose? The only reason why the nefesh neshama, the holy neshama, comes into this world is rak la'am shechor, to bring down light of godliness, the saknam, to make the world better. And that's mamish, the concept of, say, golus hashchina, which is the concept of the golus of the shchina, the exile of the divine presence, levada nitzutzim, to elevate sparks. And the Rebbe asks over here, our Rebbe asks over here, like, what's the connection between golus and what the Rebbe says? And the Rebbe explains like this. Everything Hashem does, bottom line, is good. Golus, exile, is bad. But Hashem did it, so it's good. Now, why does Hashem want it to be in Golus? Why does the Shechina, the God, we learned in the Gersa Tshuva, the Pasuk says, Rashi and Chumash, when a Jew sins, they go down and they drag God down with them. The Shechina is in exile. Shechinta begalusa. There's an expression, famous expression in the world. The Shechina, the divine presence, is in exile. Why did Hashem do that? Why did Hashem make all this? Why did Hashem dump us all over the world? Why does all the Jews in Eretz Yisrael with a base of English? What's the purpose of Golus? We always daven, get out of Golus, bring us back to Mashiach. But why did Hashem do it now? What is the purpose of it? But Alter Rebbe says this is the concept of Golus Hashchina. There's a Gemara that says the reason why Hashem put the Jews in Golus, the Tasev Aleim Gadim, simply means to get more converts. Simply, that's the simple. But Chassidus explains, because we know that if somebody wants to convert, we try to persuade them out of it. What type of meaning is this to add converts? So Chassidus explains very simply, it's not mean physical converts. God created a world. Okay, there are sparks of godliness all over the world. All over the world, there are sparks of godliness. If we live in Eretz Yisrael, everybody lives in Israel. Who's going to elevate the sparks that are in America, South America, North America, Asia, Europe, Australia, South Africa? Who's going to elevate those sparks? They're not going to be elevated. Technically, indirectly, by doing Torah mitzvahs in Eretz Yisrael, you're in there, but how are they practically going to be elevated? How is the physical object in South Africa, or Australia, or Asia, Europe, or wherever, going to be elevated to Kedusha? What did Hashem do? He made Jews go into Golus. What does it mean to add Gadim? Not converts. Gadim means the sparks of Kedusha that ended up in every part of the world. So just like Dr. Rebbe is saying, and this is what the Rebbe explains what Dr. Rebbe is saying here, just like the concept of Golus, of why Hashem puts himself into Golus and puts us into Golus, is to elevate the world that we are in, the part of the world that we are in. Those people that are in America have American sparks to elevate. And in America, you have 50 states. If you're in state 1, 2, 3, 4, that is the state that you have to elevate. Why you are in a certain particular city, in a particular neighborhood, because that's primarily your avodah, is to elevate the sparks of your immediate area. You work somewhere else, because you have to elevate the sparks of where you work also. That's the concept of Golus. Where a Jew finds himself is because that's where sparks of Kedusha were put by Hashem, and we need to elevate them. And that's by doing Torah mitzvahs. So the Rebbe is saying, the Rebbe explains, just like the neshama coming into the body is to elevate the body and the animal soul and the part of the world around him or her, where you are supposed to be functioning. That's exactly the same concept of why Hashem made Golus. Why is Hashem putting himself into exile together with the Jews? Because Hashem wants sparks of all over the world to be elevated. So that's why there's Jews in South Africa and in Africa and in any part of the world that Jews exist. The question is, what happens to those places that right now, like the Amazon jungles or whatever, there's no Jews? I don't know. So it could be that Jews that in the closer areas elevate those sparks somehow also. I don't know, but that's not our business. Our business, Dr. Rebbe says, is you need to understand that our avodah is to bring Mashiach. How are we bringing Mashiach? Mashiach is the time that Hashem's essence will be revealed in the world. Our avodah is to reveal godliness in the world. Torah mitzvahs, positive, bring kedusha into the world. Not transgressing the negative stops nourishing and feeding evil. That's what we are doing. And that's the concept why the Neshama comes into the world. Not for itself. Hashem is not going into Golus for himself. The reason why Hashem goes into Golus is because Hashem wants us to elevate the world. And with him being with us, he gives us the strength and the ability to be able to do it. And that's our avodah. And he says, now we can understand the middle of the page. Why the Chachamim strongly emphasize Ma'id tremendously, b'mailas tzedakah, the mitzvah of giving tzedakah. It's one mitzvah, but the Chazal, in fact, it's equal to all mitzvahs. The Gemara says tzedakah is equal to all mitzvahs. Not only that, the Alter Rebbe adds, "Uv'chol Talmud Yerushalmi," throughout the entire, not the Babylonian Talmud, throughout the Yerushalmi Talmud, when it says the word mitzvah, it means tzedakah. Because kach herugol aloshin, that's what the people in Yerushalayim would customary call tzedakah mipnei b'shem mitzvah stam. They call tzedakah mitzvah. They say the word mitzvah, let's do a mitzvah, they meant tzedakah. Why? Mipnei shehi iker mitzvah smaisis. Because it says like this. The whole purpose of mitzvahs is to elevate the physical world. That is done mostly, profoundly, through tzedakah. You give tzedakah, you're elevating tons and tons of things. Why? He says, why? Shekulon, all other mitzvahs, to elevate the animal soul, which is doing the mitzvah. Okay, let me explain outside because it's getting late. Now, the Rebbe says like this. You do a mitzvah, you put on tefillin, okay? What part of your body is doing the tefillin? Your hand and your head. You light Shabbos candles, your hand is doing the mitzvah. You walk to a mitzvah to show your feet are doing the mitzvah. You eat matzah, a mitzvah, your mouth is doing the mitzvah. It's different parts of your body doing different mitzvahs. When a person gives tzedakah, the whole body is being elevated. And now it's too late to see it and so let me explain it briefly outside. Because where did the person get the money to give tzedakah? He worked. Who worked? The entire body worked. Person goes to work and say, no, my head goes and my foot stays. The whole body is going to work. The whole body is making this money. Now you're taking this money and giving it to tzedakah. So what are you elevating? You're not elevating one detail of your animal soul. You're not elevating one detail of your body. You're elevating your entire body. And now the Rebbe continues, says, even a person who doesn't work, he inherited all that money. He didn't work for it. So how is he elevating his entire self? He said, but that money, you could have bought things for yourself, for your body. And you did. So therefore, when you give tzedakah, tzedakah is elevating your entire body, your entire animal soul, your entire physical surroundings around you are being elevated because that money came about. How did the money come about? By you working for a living, meaning you worked. Your whole body worked. And therefore your whole body is becoming elevated. But again, what's the emphasis over here? That the world and the person is becoming elevated. That's our Aveda. And because it's our Aveda creating the dwelling place for Hashem, that's the preparation of Mashiach and why Mashiach's coming is dependent on what we do throughout the duration of our lives in Torah. Okay, we'll leave it here. Everybody have a great Shabbos.